Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on demand horror movies. Each week, my co hosts, Jeff Moore, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreyer, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. With me this week is the one and only Jeff Moore. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. How are you, Doc?
Good. You ready to do a little seance?
I am. I was going to try to figure out how we could join hands, but I'm geographically challenged here, or anatomically challenged.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a personal problem. We forgot our candles as well. So, before I announce the rest of the cast here, we are doing the film called Host, which is premiering on Shudder the 30th of July. And it was filmed entirely in quarantine, and it's basically a Zoom meeting where a seance goes wrong. And, this could either go really good or it can go really bad. It's going to be interesting to see where we think. It is, there are fans of found footage, and there are those who are not. So let me introduce Crystal Cleveland. Crystal Cleveland, Living Dead Girls with us. Did you get your Zoom meeting on?
Yeah, totally. No, I love found footage though. I do. I love found footage. So this is an exciting one tonight.
Okay. Wow. Okay. A little hint of what our first impressions may do. Who's that with you?
You have a guest. Hi, Oliver. Say hi. He just
Oliver.
He's like, are you like camera shy, sweet?
He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, all he wants to do is just lay there. Sorry, guys.
Just like me. That's what I do.
No. All right. Also joining us is Dave Dreyer. Dave, how you doing, bud?
I'm convinced that's not a real dog. It's a puppet.
It's a puppet.
You never see both of her hands at the same time.
Where is her hand? Oh no!
Something going on there.
Oh my God! It's like, I'm like.
Oh my gosh! For those on the podcast listening or have like no idea what we're talking about, so all right, let's do this. We pick a movie or two each week and we discuss them here. And tonight we are doing Host. So I have a card here somewhere. Let's bring that up. That will help us out. All right. It's premiering on Shudder July 30th. It's directed by Rob Savage, who did a film called Dawn of the Death. Is that right?
Day of the Dawn of the Death?
Yeah, something like that. One of those films, Dawn of the Death. Written by Rob Savage, Gemma Hurley, and Jed Shepard. The cast includes Haley Bishop, Gemma Moore, Emma Louise Webb, Radina Drandova, Caroline Ward, and Edward Leonard. The synopsis is 6 friends gather on a Zoom call during the COVID-19 quarantine to participate in an online seance. Disregarding the warning not to disrespect the spirits encountered, the group finds themselves haunted by something far more sinister than first suspected. That's a pretty good synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
about what happens. All right. So let's find out what our first impressions are. And a random roll of the dice has said, Dave Dreyer, you're up first. What was your first impression of Host?
Well, my first impression was I'm impressed. This was a really entertaining film. I knew a little bit about this one going into it. The fact that they'd, all the individual participants had pretty much filmed their own footage. The director and the cast, none of the cast members were ever in the same room at the same time. And they managed to kind of piecemeal this together. And it's, I'm going to call it highly effective. A little scary romp. I was relating before we started the podcast that I kind of settled in for this one thinking, I'm going to fall asleep during this one. But by the time it was done, I was on the edge of my seat, like my nose right up against the screen going,
wow,
what the hell's going on?
Wow.
So it was fun. My first impression is this is a really fun, innovative idea.
Yeah, because I want to call it found footage, but it's actually one of those like on screen or in screen or
Yeah, it's kind of like Unfriended or
yeah. I mean, it's more
Yeah.
like that, but it has probably a lot more in common with found footage than the other ones do. But let's find out what our first impressions were. Crystal Cleveland, you're up next. What's your first impression of Host?
So shockingly, I loved this freaking movie.
I am kinda shocked.
I am, yeah. So I know why you keep wanting to call it a found footage film because, quite frankly, it totally rips off Blair Witch at
Oh, so
multiple
much.
points. Yeah, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Shockingly, I was like, oh nope, that's almost exactly. And I was like, but I bought it.
Yeah.
The way this movie was edited, I think, was key for its success. It has a lot of good characters. They seem to have their personalities set, and it's actually really funny how they get along. You kind of get to learn how they interact with each other. One of the girls really likes filters, and that is really funny when she does it, and it's even funnier later on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where I was dying. She was supposed to be scared, and yet
yeah, yeah. What was it? Was it a straw? What was it? A straw or was it?
What?
Dog
It looked
tongue?
like,
Like a big long
pig
tongue
or
came
something.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's scared shitless, and his tongue's going. Oh,
Oh, just like that, dude. Oh my god,
But
that's
it's it was pretty remarkable. They had a lot of special effects as well. So I'm not sure if everything. I know everything. Everything wasn't done CGI, but they did a
No.
great job of doing what they could, where they could. And there's a lot of jump scares, actually. And normally that upsets me, but I mean, you kind of make allowances in a film like this because it seems to make sense. But pretty much as soon as the film started, I think the reason why it really worked is because they had me on the edge of my seat. I was always wondering what I was going to see next or what was coming. I was like anxious. And I totally agree with Dave where he was like, I was too. I was like, where am I going to miss something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm
Yep.
shocked that it actually gave me little heart palpitations. I can't believe I'm saying that because nothing actually scares me, but it was kind of
nerve-wracking.
scary.
Yeah, it was
That's
nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they had a real nice mix of obvious stuff that's happening and stuff that's implied. That and like quick glances of things. There's an attic scene that is, in one way it's really kind of trite, because it's done a lot, but the way they handled it really worked. What they did with it really worked. So yeah, but let's find out what Jeff thought. Jeff Morser, what was your first impression of Host?
Well, I am a found footage fan as well, and I used to get in arguments with people about what's found footage and what isn't, and I've learned from that this is a type of film where the cameras are internal to the story. They're part of the story. They're not external. Like there's not cameramen and lighting offset. It's in the story. So in this case, it's all their laptops and their phones and whatever it is, the screens that they're looking at and the cameras are being shown on. And I think the filmmakers here really know how to take advantage of that subgenre. It captures that. At least for me, what I like about it is it feels very claustrophobic, and you have a very limited field of view. And they also, another thing that kind of takes a hit on found footage films is, why are these people carrying these cameras around? Why don't they drop it and run? Well, this one has pretty good justification for them carrying the cameras around, right? I never once thought, well, you idiot, why are you doing that? So, except for the usual horror film ones where they go like in the attic. When you're going, no, just
Well, they tell her. Make sure
But
they
anyway,
know.
I like that stuff because yeah. So it feels very well. I'm just saying, don't go in the basement, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Get out of the house
Or the
but
closet.
anyway, I like that stuff. It's and then the way they shot it, everybody, you're always seeing like, where is a desk usually set? It's usually up against a wall. And so you could see the whole rooms and hallways and stuff behind them. So we've got 6 shots on the screen, and there's so many different things to look at. Who's coming down the hall, who's making that light move, what's going on there. It just gives you the heebie-jeebies as I'm watching that. So yeah, they did a really good job of taking advantage of that. And they also have different methods and ways that they're carrying. Like some of them carry the laptop with them and you're seeing their face. Some of them carried it with them and turned it around so people could see where they were walking. Some of them left the camera on the table, so you saw them leaving the room or at a distance. So there was a lot of variety, so it didn't feel like it was all the same. Mm-hmm. So I just thought they did a great job of putting those scares in there, and it wasn't just jump scares. It was, holy cow, the hairs on the back of your neck were standing up.
Yeah. Now, I have long been a huge fan of found footage films and the in camera or in our on screen films or screen life films or whatever they're called. And there is a lot of crap out there that you have to kind of wade through to get to the good ones. Some people are now like looking back and not liking Paranormal Activity, but I love Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch, of course, the Record or Wreck and Quarantine Film. I love them all, and there's many of them, that just kind of fail to innovate. Right? This one, it's really interesting because it kind of walks that line really, really well, because it plays a lot of things that we are familiar with in the genre, but yet it innovates on them, even to the point where you're literally getting the up the nose with the snotty nose shot, which really worked, and because she got the covers over her head, and they did something really, really smart with it too, as far as she started pulling back. So there's a lot of really cool things to like about this. The characters are one that they're all different. You get to know them. You feel like they're really close. It also gives them each a camera, right? Because we're in a Zoom meeting, so everybody's got a camera. So we automatically have, 6-7 points of view. There are other characters that are involved in some of them that, fall into place. There's something I did there. So maybe you guys knew what I was doing. Maybe I didn't. And it's just, I thought it was really, I really got into it, really got involved, and it did make me jump. And I was really happy with this film. I was expecting this to be a little bit garbage. Sorry.
I was too.
I did not think this was going to be good.
It's a quarantine film. You assume it's going to be, you're like, oh, here we go. Got to suffer through this.
I know, but it was like so good. Now, for me, I think making it a Zoom meeting is something that right now when it's coming out, we could all relate to. If you're working still, you're in a Zoom meeting. If you're wanting to contact family and friends, you're in a Zoom meeting. Right now we're in a Zoom, but we're in a Zoom meeting. So the fact that even people know what Zoom meetings are, congratulations to Zoom. We are not being sponsored by them.
We're not using Zoom, as a matter of fact, but we even still call it that. So see, that's how successful.
Yeah, it's kind of like everything's Google, even though it might not be the search engine.
Yep.
It becomes a verb and a noun.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I take a Kleenex.
Oh yes. See, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Q-tip. There's all kinds of things, yes.
Y'all are messing me up now.
No. But anyway, they have mythology brought out in this that is just woven well enough to support everything that happens. I really have no idea what. All is that in like the synopsis said, you don't want to disrespect because you'll unintentionally invite something else in, and boom, that's what happens. That's all you need to know. It's so smart in that respect. Because it lets us just kind of run with it, and anything can happen. And they do this the tricks with moving chairs, being pulled down the hallway, things fly open. You go in the attic, you go in the closet.
There's more than that, though. I mean, like like the whole poltergeist thing with the cabinets and stuff. I'm like, how they put a lot of work into this.
They did. I think they achieved a tremendous success here. It's I hope people watch this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So let's talk about the characters. I guess we have a lead. I think over. We start with the one character. I imagine it's Haley, right? Haley Bishop, but
yeah,
she kind of gets. I mean, it kind of becomes very much an ensemble as the movie goes on. She brings everybody in, and then they all kind of hold their own. Each character has an own personality that's strong enough to keep them from being totally supportive. Crystal, is there anybody that stood out?
So one thing I wanted to say about the Haley character is I think that she is actually the catalyst for the entire thing. If you notice, before she even starts the seance, that closet door opens and stuff falls out.
Right. Yeah. They did that twice.
That was before anything happened. And she was the one that wanted to do the seance. So I kind of feel like whatever was going on was already happening to her. And that's part of the reason why she wanted to do this whole thing. Yep. So as much as we may want to blame the other girl for whatever it was, I think it was really on her.
It was already too late.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I do. Or I don't think it was already too late. I think that opened the door for more, actually.
Mm. Yeah, that closet came back around a couple times. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sorry, that was just something that I think that's why she's so central in a way. I still felt like she was the central character, but the deaths were phenomenal. Caroline.
Okay, so let's point out.
Sorry,
small spoilers, but there are
people died.
People die.
Oh yeah. Hey, if in a horror movie someone doesn't die, then yeah.
But they do. There was a couple of them that you don't see coming because there are some other characters that are not the main six that are actually
oh yeah,
there's a boyfriend, there's a girlfriend involved, and both of those it's kind of shocking.
That too with the whole.
That's what I was saying. Dropped in, right?
Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. Really, it's really so good. They utilized everything that they could. It was very smart.
Yeah. So there's possibly some of the things might get on some people's nerves. There's a couple of in your face shock kind of jump scares that may or may not work for you. I was fine with them, but there are other ones that for me worked a lot better. Like the couple of things that we just mentioned, all the doors opening up, the drawers opening up, the attic thing surprised me. I was kind of, when that started happening, I was kind of going, but then it won me. So Jeff, we talk about with you WTF moments, and people are going to expect, does this movie have one? Is there a moment where you're like, what's going on? Does that happen here?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, I got some of the names mixed up. But the girl that,
well, someone's speaker.
Yep. Keep going, Jeff.
All right. I thought somebody was sneaking up behind me.
No.
Oh my God. Actually, that would be so awesome if I had set something up like the video where like someone's like,
okay.
Why didn't I do that? That would have been so awesome.
That was one, although she explains it. But the biggest WTF for me was, and I forget what the girl's name, but she's gone for a while. She just kind of drops out of sight. And all of a sudden she pops up and starts going into some violent motion.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my God. Because I couldn't really tell what happened when she disappeared. Yeah. Caroline.
We don't need to say who it is. Don't need to say who it is. Okay. But the one
she
girl
survives.
Yeah. So the one girl has the background thing set up, and that is actually pretty fun. really kind
That's
of
my favorite. It's brilliant.
yeah.
It's brilliant. And then the way it looks, she did a great job.
Yep. Later on,
But that's editing too. I don't know who the editor was. I don't know I don't know who any of these people are, but I'm just saying they all did a great job. But the editor, I mean, just taking all this footage that people sent you and putting it together so well.
yeah. I'd
Very
be
good.
curious if they were able to shoot the actual Zoom meeting at one time, or if they had to, everybody shoot their own little bit and edit it together. If it's stitched, if it's actually created, or if it was.
I would think it would have to
What?
be stitched, especially with the effects scenes. I don't know. How you could I don't know how you could do those in real time.
Right.
Yeah, unless you just project. I don't know. It's really curious. I didn't find. I found myself thinking about them, but not so much that it took me out of the film. But it was.
Right.
Yeah. So Dave, we always talk about effects, and we're talking about effects now. Now the effects aren't necessarily gory, although
The headbanger, the headbanger scene's pretty good.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. What did you think? I know that pre-show you mentioned, the we'll just call it the pool, right? The pool scene.
Yeah. That was kind of my my WTF moment, because I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that. I had read while I was watching the movie, I was kind of reading up, because once it grabbed my attention, I'm like, what the hell is this? I was reading about it, and they had said that I read somewhere, I wish I could quote the source exactly, and I cannot attest to the accuracy of this, but apparently all the individual cast members were responsible for handling the effects that were occurring in their little segment.
Really?
Wow.
So this effect that we're talking about with the pool, if that's true, I'm like, how the hell did they do that? I know how you do it with a film crew on hand, and everything, but so, if that's true, and maybe the filmmakers will see this and answer back to us, but if the individual people were responsible for the effects in their given scene, say what?
Yeah.
Well, they were a couple. So at least, they had at least two people, which
Right.
makes it,
Yeah,
which makes
right.
it more
Yeah,
doable.
they
That
can have
helps.
roommates or a couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, they were a couple. Remember, they were a
Right, right.
couple.
Right.
Yeah.
So the
touching
movie
even.
obviously has a small budget. It doesn't need a big budget, but I think they made the most of it. I think it's actually quite well made and remarkable. And this may end up in my top 10 list. I'm just going to throw that out there. I love this one.
That would not surprise me if it did for you, Doc.
Okay.
It's definitely worthy of an honorable mention.
We talk about, this is a Jeff film, this is a Crystal film, this is a Dave film, and this is most definitely a Doc film.
If you found out it was secretly produced by Blumhouse, that'd be it. You'd be changing your underwear.
Maybe. Oh man.
But here's the thing: taking into account the quarantine film and I think that does warrant. I could absolutely see that warranting that, because for what it is, it's really even better, because it was just good anyway. Like, I could see this being made and coming out not as a quarantine film, not shot in quarantine. So
Right. Yeah, actually, like Unfriended is very similar.
It is.
To this. It just happens to be in the context, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays like a year or two from now. When all this is behind us. But it also kind of, that happened, right? And oh man, I'm just going to shut up because I like this movie so much. Jeff,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's actually a spirit listed in this. There is an entity that.
what? Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's played by James Swanton. So congratulations, James. What do you think, Jeff? The spirit? Did you? There's a couple times when I knew what they were doing and it still freaking worked. There's like. They do everything you can imagine. There's the throw the stuff on the floor so you can see it. There's the throw the towel up in the air. Everything you can imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right,
That was all good. Yeah, I don't know what you want me to. There's not a particular one. the thing about this one is I watch horror movies because I like to be scared, and this one scared me the most of anything in a while, I'd say.
Wow. I like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
I don't know that I would say that I was scared, but it was
Doc doing the
thrilling.
scary strut.
I
That scared me.
am scary
Yeah.
strut. Oh, I like that. It's scaring you. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and wrap this one
So
up.
I'm sitting in a basement in a chair with all the. I'm sitting in a
Go ahead.
basement with a chair and all the lights are off, and this is one of those movies where I'm like, kind of leaning out, looking down the hallway and stuff. So,
I like that.
is there anybody
I
here?
like that. Yes. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. The score is going to be 1 to 5. But before we do, if you like what you're seeing here, please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Hit the bell so you can get reminded. Leave some comments. We love the comments, and I think Jeff has already made a personal request that or Dave, maybe it was you, to filmmakers hear this, chime in, let us know some of the secrets. You can DM if you don't want to let everybody know. Just let us know. We're hungry.
It'll be our secret.
But yes, if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening, and make sure you subscribe and hit YouTube, not YouTube. This is YouTube. Hit iTunes and give us a review there. All right, let's do our final thoughts. Let's see if I can remember the order. Dave, I think you're up first.
I was, and I'm gonna pretty much just repeat what I'd said. I think this was a very innovative. They don't do anything really new here. They just kind of do it a little bit differently, and it comes off as very fresh. It's a very nerve-wracking movie, highly effective, even though it doesn't seem like it should be. I found myself really enjoying this. I'm going to give it a 4. And my favorite scene is going to be that aforementioned pool scene. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that scene really, I was not expecting that. So it really kind of shocked me. So
and it was well timed. They placed it because they could have placed that in a couple different way of structured, but where they put it really, really helped us all.
Yeah.
All right, Crystal Cleveland, you're up next. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Well, clearly, I think we all agree that you should watch this, and it's going to be on Shudder, and you better have Shudder, or Shudder. It's cool. All the cool kids have it.
all the cool kids have it.
Oh.
I'm also giving it a 4, and of course, I'm taking into consideration, the whole quarantine thing. I still really just liked it, though. My score probably wouldn't be that far off, but I am giving it a little bump for that. And there's a lot of scenes I liked, but I think one of my favorites was the footsteps. The footsteps.
Nice.
I just love that stupid stuff. I'm like,
Yes.
it's gonna get you, girl.
Yes, and it was done well too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man. Oh, I like that. All right, Jeff Moore, you're up next. What's your final thoughts? Your score, favorite scene?
Yeah, I've already said this. I like movies that scare me, and I don't know. I'd have to look at the movies I've watched, but it's been a while since one really hit me, and this one did. I'm giving this a 4.25.
Oh, nice.
And favorite scene, I'm just going to go ahead and say what Dave coined as the headbanger scene.
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I like the whole scene surrounding it as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm expanding it a little bit, but we won't go into details.
All right. So I'll chime in here. No surprise here. If you have been listening to this podcast or H&R over the years, this movie was ripe for me to either really love or really hate. And I will say it's in the love category. I'm giving it a 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will confess that I sat down a little trepidation. I didn't know. I was like, all right, okay. The circumstances, the scenario I was like, feels a little, little cliche, but oh man, it's it's just craft. It's really good craft here. They take what works and they spin it in a way that works for the story. I mean, we literally get a lot of poltergeist scenes. We get a lot of scenes like, straight out of Blair Witch, the runny nose and in the face, right? I mean, but it works, especially in context. And Paranormal Activity scenes with things opening up and sliding across the floor. And I was eating up every single minute of it. Once we got, there was a particular scene that I loved how they did it. That involves a character. It's not my favorite scene, but it involves a character that kind of like sets everything in motion, and it's not really what you think it is. And I thought that was pretty smart and ingenious to get us kind of in the mood, but not yet start things. So yeah, it was kind of fun. My favorite scene, though, is going to be, since you guys all took the other scenes that I probably would have chosen. There's plenty to choose from. The attic scene, I could choose that. I could choose the scene with the sheet, but I'm going to choose. I love that scene. I'm going to choose because you knew it was coming. You just knew it. But it flipping worked.
But it still worked.
Oh my God, so well. It was good. 1, 2, do it. 3. Oh God. There's a scene when, one of them you can see into the kitchen, and she has a boyfriend, and she's trying to find her boyfriend at one point. You can't find her, and she comes back, and all hell breaks loose. And then all of a sudden, the boyfriend makes a reappearance, and it was shocking. I was not expecting it, and it really, at that point, things were getting kind of serious, but that really made it serious, and I loved it. It just really gets crazy wacky after that. But another scene I wanted to pick, and I'm going to name a whole bunch of scenes. Like the first time, the first time the chair moves.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh yeah,
It was so well timed and so well executed, and so simple but so effective. And hats off. I love this film.
You know what? It was even really cool. The light bulb bursting. I was like,
oh yeah,
they do that? Yeah, because that would be hard. I think way too much about how they did a lot of this stuff. I'm like,
pondering.
Well, I love the fact. One of the things I'm really going to point out here before we wrap up, because we need to go, we're over time, is that characters do, like we said, might not make it to the end, but their cameras don't turn off.
Oh yeah. Well,
right? They do and they don't.
They kind of did and didn't. They would go off and on. It seemed like maybe.
Right. But there's one where the steps are involved and you're looking up and there's like a couple blood splots.
Yeah.
On the camera, and you see that for a long time. I enjoyed it. And I was trying to figure out what was going on at the end, and it was like, well, who are all these names? What are they doing? And it was the crew.
It was brilliant. Yeah. Oh, really?
I didn't figure out it was the crew until the very end, because their job description was like their name, and their job description was right under it. So yeah. All right. Well, that's our review of Host. It's playing on Shudder. By the time you're hearing this, on the 30th of July, 2020, filmed during the quarantine, and I don't think it's going to suffer because of that. I think it will hold up later on.
I agree.
So kudos. All right, Jeff, Crystal, Dave, thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.